All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And just as you can see in the title, it's looking like a famine. And in this lesson, what I'm going to do, Lord willing, is go into certain, well, really why I titled it that, but also certain accounts and events as to the severity, all right, of famine, and how this current, as they're calling it, supply chain shortage and so on and so forth, is ultimately going to lead to, all right, these food shortages and these famines. And keeping in mind what the scriptures say about now being a time like never before, the accounts that I'm about to read, which, I mean, some of them are, like the last one I have is pretty horrific, right? It's pretty intense as to what people do and how people change when they don't have food. Okay, the lengths that they're willing to go to. All right, and Salakia, 1 second. All right, Salakia about that. Yeah, you know, and so these elites, knowing this is why they are orchestrating all of this. Now they have, I believe they started their Davos, you know, meeting thing, and I think they were doing it virtually, and you got Fauci and all these other world leaders over there. Now China, all right, is out here talking about, because they have this thing called a zero vid policy, right? Let's call it that. They have this thing called a zero vid policy, which pretty much because of that, the exports and imports and all of these, the movement of goods overseas to other areas has been affected. So when they talk about supply chain and supply chain shortages and so on and so forth, you first got to understand, well, what is the supply chain? Because this is a term that is being widely used nowadays, and you know, a lot of people just echo it. But what does it actually mean? And when they say the supply chain is broken, how does that affect you? All right, so let's start off by looking up supply chain. And it says here, in its simplest form, a supply chain is the activities required by the organization to deliver goods or services to a consumer. All right. It says a supply chain is a focus on the core activities within an organization required to convert raw materials or component parts through to finished products or services. Now they had another definition that I saw earlier. I like that better, but it's pretty much dealing with, yeah, it says here, supply chain management, the management of the flow of goods and services between businesses and locations, okay? Including the movement of raw materials and work inventory and so on and so forth. So you have, it's a chain, right? It's a chain because, for example, when they talk about the chain of command, right? That means that you have different levels that are interlinked. Okay, so you go from here to here to here, and they all lock. So the supply chain, if you have, for example, China that makes a lot of products, right? And that's why a lot of your products, when you look at it, is on the tag somewhere, it'll say made in China. So they make it over there from their factories and their mass productive means, and then they export it out. And we, or America and other countries, import, right? They bring in the things that are exported from the various different areas that they get it from, whether it be raw materials or technological things or whatnot, you know. And some things that are already pre-made, you know, they'll bring maybe cars and whatnot, and then other things they might get in the raw form where they'll put it together themselves over here. And that includes different grains, right? And different ingredients that they bring here, and then they, through the factories, they turn it into something else, and then they bring it to you. So when it comes from overseas, it comes to a dock or a port, and it has to be unloaded over there, because majority of it, they put them in containers. So they have to unload the containers on the port, and at the port you have the trucks that come, and they get whatever it is, whatever products they are, and those trucks take them now to the factory or wherever they gotta go, and then from there they say, okay, well, we're gonna prepare it, we're gonna do it this way, we're gonna get this, these are the parts we needed. Then the factory might turn it into the product that they need, and then another truck will take it from there to the grocery store, or to the hospitals, or to wherever they need to take it to. So let's deal with food, for example. You have a lot of these products that are stuck over there. Now, when the supply chain is broken, food doesn't necessarily have to be China's exporting food and we're importing it and then we're using it, because you have farmers over here. So the process of farming, right? The farmers planting and then harvesting and then that getting to your stomach, that's also a supply chain. All right, a chain in which things are supplied to get to you. So the farmer needs he needs the seeds, right? He needs to be able to plant it. He needs good weather so that he can he can have a good season, and then he can harvest his crops. Okay, and then those get taken to the factory or wherever they get taken to. The factory mass produces it, puts it in nice rubber bags and whatnot. The truck comes, takes it, brings it to the grocery store. You go there and you buy it. So when you go to the grocery store and you cannot find any food over there, okay, that means that there's somewhere within that chain, from the planting, the harvesting, the factory, the truck bringing it, something is broken in there. And because of that breaking, right? For example, if the supply chain is broken at the chain or where the truckers transport things, or let's say the transportation chain, it doesn't matter how much crops the farmer has. He can't get it to the factories. And even if he could, the factories can't get it to you. So it doesn't matter how much they have over there. It's just sitting there, because how are they going to get it to you? This part of the chain is not linked to the supermarket part of the chain, because the trucks in between to connect it is broken, or there are not enough truckers. However you want to put it. So when they say that the supply chain is broken, that means that the source to the output, there's no direct connection. Something has been severed somewhere. And that means that if it's been severed over here, you might still get a little bit of reserves over here, but once this runs out, you're not getting any fresh incoming ones. Okay? So with all that being said, it's interesting how these elites, really the Most High is behind it, but how these elites, put it all together to cause that. And I'm gonna start off here in the book of Genesis, because famine can be a very powerful tool used to control people. Because listen, it doesn't look, man, when you're hungry, everybody's subject to hunger. Okay? And when you're hungry, you become weak, because our bodies that we dwell in, they need food, right? That's what supplies you. Okay? So they understand that when you get hungry enough to a certain point, you're willing to do anything. Because when hunger kicks in, the flesh, it starts, especially people that are not strong in the spirit, their flesh takes over. That's why they go cannibalistic. At that point, reasoning is out the window, and they start thinking in a more primitive state, in a more instinctive state, in a more just do what you got to do state. Okay? And so let me actually start off here. I'm going to read one verse in here, maybe two, who knows. And then we're going to get this, because all these things that are happening, the Lord prophesied it. Now, it's not going to be the things the prophecies in the scriptures they're not going to be fulfilled on such a low level that is like, oh, this just got merged in with this. No, if it's stated in here explicitly, you're going to see it. And it's going to be so apparent and so obvious that it'll remind you right back to the verse. It's not going to go under the radar. These prophecies are not going to go under the radar. Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 14. Oh, wow, 14. I'm tripping. Matthew 24, verse 7. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places." So there's the key part right there, famines. Now let's look up the word famine. All right, because when people hear famine, instinctively they think of some desert somewhere, right? Some dry desert. Your lips are all chapped. You coughing dust. You know, there's no food anywhere. It's just the road, like the movie The Road. But famine, the actual way famine works is that there's food, right? But you don't have access to that food. So there might be food, but not in your location, you know, or it's so scarce that you can't get access to it. So when people die of famine, they die of a shortage of food, of a lack of access to whatever little bit of um um produce or whatnot. I'm looking for another word. Damn, it just came in and it left. I think it starts with a V or something. But anyway, a lack of access to food. Let's put it like that, for lack of a better word. Damn, there's a word for it. There's like, I think it starts with a V, vin something, whatever. Anyway, that's what happens during the famine. Okay, and so now let's go to the book of Genesis, and let's deal with the famine that took place in the land of Egypt. And as we're reading Genesis, the 47th chapter, I want you to, notice and pay attention to how subjective the people became onto Pharaoh through Joseph because of the famine. All right. When we read Genesis 47, right, look at how and you look at how much power Pharaoh gained through the famine. Through him having food and everybody else needing it, everybody else needing it, he gained power. All right, he gained extreme control, and we're about to read it. So now think about it. If you are the elites, right, and you have the power to manufacture and make a man-made crisis that can cause like an artificial famine, right? Simulate that event. And you read something like this and you know how this works, you can manipulate that. Okay, well, you know what? It's fine. It's fine that these people are saying all the things they're saying and doing what they're doing, but this is how it works. It's like cause and effect. When there's no food, they're gonna stop all of that. You can't. People riot for a while. Thank you, victuals, and the water, victuals, the water. That was the word, victuals. All right. People riot, but it gets to a point where when you haven't eaten in so long, you don't even have the energy. Right? You don't have the energy to go ride and kick shit down and burn shit, and in the beginning stages, yeah, but eventually you just get so weak that you're so desperate to do whatever it is they say just so you can get something to eat. And that's control. That's control. That's gonna be so hard for people that they would be willing to take a charagma so they can eat. Oh yeah, you better believe it. Everybody got a price under the right circumstances. The elect, you can't buy the elect. That's why the Lord said that you can't, if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect, but also that you can't pluck out the elect from the Lord's hand. You can't buy the elect. There is no price for the elect. That's why the Lord said he's going to keep us in the hour of temptation, because in the Lord keeping us and guarding us, we don't have a price. Okay, no matter what conditions we go through, there's not going to be a price for you to be able to get us to turn our backs on our power. All right. So this is Genesis chapter 47. And I'm going to start at verse 13. It says here, "And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine." And that's a very big landmass to be lacking food. Okay, the whole land of Canaan. If you look it up on the geography, the land of Canaan and Egypt, That's pretty big. So you have people coming from Canaan, all right? Uh Jacob and his sons coming, but you also had different Canaanites, all right, or different Hamites of the different respective tribes or families coming down, and people in Egypt coming up. Like, yo, ain't no food, right? So if we hear there's food in a certain part of Egypt, where you think we going? So it says here, so that all the land fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So it started off with them becoming rich because you had to buy the food, right? So everybody's coming there. They're the only source. They're the only supply, all right? So the demand was real high. Verse 15, and when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, lacham, right? For why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. So when they started running out of money, they say, yo, what we gonna do? We need food. Okay, give us food because we don't got no more money. And that's why you got Bill Gates buying up all this land, and so because if you control the food, if you can have access to food, control or set up an artificial famine, you got power. All right, you got power because people are gonna come to you. At least that's how the way it goes is, right? Verse 16, and Joseph said, so now they got money, right? They got rich because everybody came and bought came to buy corn. Verse 16, and Joseph said, so now they said, we ran out of money, but we need food. We're hungry, but we don't have any money. Okay, so we'll work something out. Verse 16, and Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. Right? So if you don't have money, bring your cattle, and then we could trade. That's going to what? The barter system. And that's showing you that eventually what's going to happen, the money in this current dollar and so on and so forth is going to fail. It's going to be worthless. Like in the movie I Am Legend and in other movies, it's going to be worthless. The Book of Eli. All right? Because in a well-running economy, you can pull that off, that fiat system, right? Oh, cool. But when everything is broken down, it doesn't matter how much Benjamins, right, that you have. What the hell are you gonna do with that? People ain't gonna be. They're gonna be like, look, if I got an orange and there's a famine going on, what the hell am I gonna do with your paper? That's paper. Because if I take that paper and I go to, I don't know, China or Russia, that don't mean shit. It's paper. Right? What I need is a universal currency. So if you bring me some gold or silver, maybe we could barter. Or if you bring me something I need, I have an orange, right? Well, what do you have? I'll give you my orange, but you got to have something that I need or something that I want. And if you don't have that, then I'm not going to give you my orange. So you could, yo, I'll give you $200, right? $200, bro. Do you not see what's going on around you? What supermarket am I going to go stand in and give them $200? It ain't going to matter, man. Okay? So the barter system. So Joseph said, you give me your cattle, and guess what? I'll give you some food. If you don't have money, you bring your cattle. Verse 17. It says, so it started with money, then their possessions. Verse 17, and they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, right? And the Hebrew word or name for Joseph is Yawasab, okay? And bread is lacham. So it says in exchange for horses and for the flocks and for the cattle of the herds and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle, for that year. So you brought your cattle, you brought whatever your horses, all of that as an exchange. And then it goes even more. So because you only have so much cattle. You only have so much horses. You only have so many possessions. So after your money runs out and you don't have anything else to barter with, right? Your physical possessions, your cattle and all that runs out, then what? Verse 18. When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, we will not hide it from my lord, how that our money is spent. You know, I ain't gonna lie, I'm broke, right? We don't have any more money. My lord hath also, or my lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our lands. So now the next thing left to labor, to bargain with, was their bodies and their land. Interesting. It says here, verse 19, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us. Buy us. Don't take our money. We don't, because we don't have any more. Don't take our cattle, because we don't have any more. Take us. Buy us. So what did they sell? Their freedom. They sold they gave money. They sold their cattle. They sold their horses. And then when all that was out, they had to sell themselves. They sold their freedom. So it says, buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh. Wow. And give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. So now, what person do you know is just gonna joyously sell themselves? Yo, you just own me, take me. You know, because if somebody owns you, they own you, right? If I own, I don't know, I got a book, right, or a remote. This is mine. If I want to, I can throw this into the wall somewhere. It could break. I could put it in hot water. I could do whatever I want with it. It's mine, right? So, and the remote doesn't get a say. So imagine if you were the remote and somebody owns you, and they could press whatever buttons they want because they own you and you don't get a say. So with that in mind, right, who in their right mind would just go, just own me, buy me, I'm selling myself to you, just take me? Under what condition would somebody do that? You got to think about it. On the normal conditions, ain't nobody good. People already have a problem being told what to do, just being in order, you know. Hey, brother Shemai, real quick. Nigga told me to Shemai. Who the fuck you talking about Shemai? Who you talking to like that, you know? Jake got a problem with that already, right? So, and that's just an example. But Jake got a problem already being told what to do. So how much more for being owned? You know, no babakushas, no please, no polite talk, just, yo, come here, you know, do this, they kick you, whatever. What you gonna do? You owned. Nobody wants to live under those conditions. So you gotta now, think about it, right? Damn, what would be so, like, what would make me sell myself into slavery? That's the power of famine, okay? You starving so much that you're not thinking about somebody owning. You're not thinking about what they're gonna make you do. No. You're thinking about, look, if this will get food in my stomach, I will do it. You can have me. You can own me. I'm gonna work for you. Whatever. So, like I said, once again, if you have the power of the elites, right, you can manufacture food shortages, create these crises, and you know how this works. This is human nature. Humans need food to survive. If humans don't have food, they start to get desperate. And when they get desperate, guess what? It's easier to control them. So, in this instance, you know something like this. Of course, you're going, well, if I have access to the food, no more seeds, you're not planting your own food. I'm ridiculing anybody trying to go natural and do their own thing. Do away with all of that. Confiscate all of it. So now I have it. I'm the source. And you have nothing, and then you're hungry. So where else are you going to go when you're hungry but here? You're going to come here, right? And then whatever I tell you to do, you're going to do it, because you may come the first day, and I say, I want to put a karagma inside your ass. You're like, nah, I'm hungry. I ain't that hungry. Okay, I'll give it a day or two. You come back 2 days later. I don't need to come to you. Remember, I got what you want. I got what you need. I got what you want. I got the food. So guess what? You're gonna come to me. It doesn't matter if you come to me and I tell you you gotta take this karagma to eat. You like, nah, I ain't doing that. Guess what? I still got the food. You don't. So 2 days later, when the stomach is growling even louder, you're gonna start considering it. Then maybe 3.5 days, you're gonna come back to me. I'm gonna see you walking up, and I'm gonna know exactly what went on, right? Yo, I really gotta take you. If you don't take it, you're not getting nothing to eat. You see that? You smell the food right there. See, they're good. They're fed. And eventually what's going to happen? People are going to break. Okay? So famine is very, very severe. And that's why in the book of Lamentations, It tells you that it is better to die by the sword than to die by hunger. Because when you die by famine or by starvation, you don't get access to any food and your body starts to eat itself and strip itself, and you become so weak. It gets to the point where you don't really feel anything, like you don't, the feeling of wanting to do things, you get to that state of apathy. Okay. So famine is a very, very intense thing, and it's one of those six-letter word that you hear and it's just like, oh, famines, yeah, famines, pestilence, yeah. No, 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 no. The famine is not one of those you just overlook. When a famine's hit, man, that thing is, that alone in itself can be devastating, and let alone adding on pestilence and earthquakes and the chaos here and there. So it's gonna be real devastating out here. But let's keep going. I got a bit more. So we got to the point where they said, look, we don't have any money, we don't have any cattle, all we got is us. Okay, so Genesis 47 verse 20. And Joseph, actually, I'm gonna go back to 19. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh. And who is the modern day Pharaoh? These elites. Okay, Esau, Edom. It says, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. So now he's accumulating power, authority, land. You living on the land, well, it's my land. It says, and as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end. So, the other end thereof. So if these elites tell you, look, you want food, you got to come here. You got to come to these FEMA camps you gotta check in over here. This is where you're gonna be at, and then we'll take care of you and whatnot. You do what we tell you, then we'll give you food. It says, verse 22, only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. All right, and let me see. Yep, verse 23, then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day. It says, behold, I have bought you this day and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the fifth part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own for seed of the field, and for your food, and for them of your households, and for food for your little ones. And they said, thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. Okay? And we will be Pharaoh's servants. So under the for a right price, all right, for a price, people gonna do it. That's why we are gonna need the Spirit of the Lord to keep us, because famine is a very brutal way to be judged, man. Famine is a very painful way to go out. And I'm gonna get another account going into the severity. So we just read here in Genesis as to the famine was so severe that these people sold everything up to the point of themselves. They sold themselves into servitude just so they can eat, because that's how intense it gets when there is no food around. But as I go, I got 2 more accounts. You're gonna see how much worse it can get. Okay, and why the scriptures talk about this time being a time like never before, because it's going to be devastating. And that's why you got to fear the Lord, because he's going to be behind this. So this is the book of 2 Kings chapter 6, and I believe a brother posted this earlier. 2 Kings chapter 6, starting at verse 24. It says, and it came to pass after this, that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his host and went up and besieged Samaria. And we all know what happens during the siege, right? Pretty much the goal is to until you surrender, right? Or until you're weak enough for us to invade. because during a siege, right, you have the city surrounded by their walls, and it's not just, oh well, the walls are the doors are shut, the walls are big, we can't get through the walls. They could scale the walls. The enemies could scale the walls, but you have people that are round about the walls that are keeping guard, just like in the ancient movies. They show you they had those what's it called, bulwark or something like that. Let me just make sure I'm not okay. So we have here bulwark says a defensive wall, a fortification. All right, rampant or rampart. Okay, so it was set up basically to defend, so they could shoot, arrows. You could have archers on the walls shooting arrows and so on and so forth to make sure that the enemy stays back and they don't get too close. So the goal of the enemy is, well, you have food in here, right, in your area, but it's only gonna last so long. That's why certain sieges last years, because they literally siege you. They set up garrisons and they siege. They cut off your supply. Nobody comes in, nobody goes out. So up until you don't have anything left in your land, then we come up in there and we do what we got to do, right? So back in 2 Kings chapter 6 verse 24, it says, and it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his host and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, which is 80 pieces of silver for an ass's head. What meat are you going to get off of an ass's head? It's just pretty much skin and bones, right? But for desperation. So it says, and the fourth part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. And you see how the prices of things just went up. It says, and as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, help, my lord, O king. King is Malak, all right? It says, and he said, if the Lord do not help thee, when shall I help thee? Right? That's what he said, because, well, because the Most High is the one who can take away the famine or bring it. So he's saying, look, if there's, you see what's going on. If the Most High don't stop it, what the hell am I going to do? Right? It says, out of the barn floor or out of the winepress. And the king said unto her, what aileth thee? Right? What's the matter? And she answered, this woman said unto me. So there were 2 women, right? The one that called the king, and then when she was talking to him, she said, that woman. So she said, where are we at? Yeah. And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son, that we may eat him today. Oh, shit. And we will eat my son tomorrow. So they made an agreement. They made a deal to eat their sons. And like I said, we're going to get into a more detailed, a similar account. So it says here, and we will eat my son tomorrow. Here it is. Y'all done made a deal. 2 mothers made a deal to eat their sons. What? But once again, under normal circumstances, this isn't something you would even think about. But that goes to show you how severe famines can be, to the point where people don't think straight. All right. It's like now it's okay to think about eating your own children, because that's how bad it gets. That's how desperate people get. And they're willing to do whatever they need to do, including, look, if you got to eat it. Look, once again, you got to be realistic. If you got to eat your child, you know what that means, right? You see a child walking, they're hungry too, right? And they're looking for you to defend them and protect them. Now, you got to actually meditate in your head. Hold on. I got to kill my child. Murder. I got to put this child to death, and then I got to cook him or fry him or roast him or whatever. So I'm going to put, not only am I putting somebody else to death, I'm putting my own child to death. I am killing my own child, and then I'm going to eat human meat because that's my child. So really sit down and say, no, who in their right mind would be able to even entertain a thought like that? And yet, two mothers had agreed to do this, right? Showing you how severe famines can get. Now, what puts the icing on the cake is that this happened. And in the scriptures, it says that what we're about to see is going to far triumph something like this. So the famines the Lord prophesied about in Matthew 24 are going to be so bad that hearing a situation like this where two mothers agreed to eat their children, that's not going to compare to the things that we're going to be seeing in this day and age. You see? And that fear, that's why the scripture said, therefore, knowing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. Now, what do we persuade men to do? We persuade men to fear the Lord. Okay? So, tying it back into 1 Peter 4:17 about judgment beginning, famine is a form of judgment. You're going to have certain individuals that the Lord is going to kill you by famine. He's going to have you starve to death. That's not good at all. All right, so let's keep going. Back in 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 28. And the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son. Oh, wow. And did eat him. Now imagine if you're the king hearing this. Like, what? It says, and I said unto her, the next day, I mean, they must have been hungry as hell, because shit, you eat a whole son in one day. I mean, he could have been an infant, toddler, boy, whatever, you know, but he had to be little kid. That done eating the boy in one day, and then the next day she hungry, coming back for more. Talk about some, and we did eat him. And I said unto her the next day, give us thy son. Where your son at? You know, she don't wake up and shit. Stomach growling, ugly ass, you know. And she started looking around like, yo, like she waiting for the other woman to come, you know. So what's up with the plan? You know, where's your son at? So it says here, and I said unto her the next day, give thy son that we may eat him, as she hath hid her son. So the other lady was like, hell no, you crazy. You know, you done lost your damn mind. You know, I'm gonna eat your son. Food is food, right? But you ain't eating mine. But show you how sick, like how bad, let me just put it like that, how bad it got. You know? Imagine having a conversation like this. This is not normal. But desperate times call for, as they say, desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Oh Lord. It says here, okay, that was pretty much it. That was pretty much it on that account. I ended up at verse 29, dealing with with that instance, because once again, they were so hungry they couldn't think straight. When they show you commercials or movies or cartoons, and you'll see somebody's like super hungry, right? And as they're hungry, they start looking at the person next to them, and then all of a sudden, the person doesn't look like themselves anymore. They look like food, either a piece of chicken or something. And then the person looks at them like, why are you looking at me like that? And he's like, oh, nothing. You know, and he's drooling and shit. Now he starts taking plans like, if I put sauce on him, you know, some hot sauce and shit. And then it's like comedy, right? Ha, 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 look, ha. That's real. That's why they have that Snickers commercial, you're not you when you're hungry. Yeah, she wasn't a mother when she was hungry. She was just somebody that needed food, right? I want that food. Now, the last account I have is in the book of Josephus. Josephus. This book. I have the complete. Yeah, the complete work. So I think it's like 6 books or a certain amount of books in one. So it's a pretty big, hefty book. You know, take some time to read. But I'm gonna get an account in here under, I think this is book 6, chapter 3. Okay, which Josephus goes into the details of the siege. All right, so in here we're going to read about the siege of Jerusalem. It's not a long read, but there's a main point in here that I want to bring out during going into what was happening to Jake during the famine. Because when Titus, you know, came and they had laid siege and they were breaking through the defenses, and you had Jake barricading themselves, they ran out of food. Okay, and that's when the real horrors started to begin. Okay, so as you read it, you know, I'm about to read it right now. You're gonna hear about the thing. And Josephus was an eyewitness because he actually fought in that siege, and then he was captured. And then he was basically made. That's where he gets the name Flavius Josephus. I believe he was under the Flavian dynasty. He was like under them, but they treated him well. They took care of him and whatnot. And the Lord had that, so that he could have this here. Okay, so this is Wars of the Jews. I think this is book 6, chapter 3, and the title says the Jews burn many of the Romans. But we're gonna start here, and it says now of those that perished by famine in the city, the number was prodigious. It says, and the miseries they underwent were unspeakable. For if so much as the shadow of any kind of food did anywhere appear, a war was commenced presently, right? Because food was so scarce that if you heard or found out, you heard just a rapper, everybody's ready, and there was war for that. They wanted, look, people would kill. It says, and the dearest friends fell a fighting one with another about it over food, right? And did the scriptures not say, let's get it real quick. Now, this is something that happened, like I said, but the scriptures say that it's going to happen again and even worse. And I believe this is in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, might be around 6 and 24. Yep, the 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 24. Yeah, you out of here. All right, it says here, and that's a good one too. Yaquab repost and Hunter too. 2nd Ezra 6 and 24, it says, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. Why are they going to fight one against another like enemies? Something is going to have to prompt them. Now, what's one plausible thing? Food, famine. It says, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Okay? Because along with famine, you have what? Shortages of not just food, but water. And that's really what makes it hard. Okay, let me actually read this real quick. I saw a brother put it. I was gonna get it at 2nd Ezra 16, I believe. Let's see. Oh, no, this is actually Yaquab repost 102, 2nd Ezra 15 and 5. Behold, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Okay, so now let's keep going. Back in the book of Josephus, it says snatching, and this is just a historical account, because if you're gonna read this book or the books that Josephus wrote, you gotta there's certain things that he goes off on because he wasn't a prophet. He was a historian. He gave an account, but there's not 100% of the things in this book are accurate. So of course we stick with the scriptures, but there's certain bits and information in here that we can use. Okay. Yep, this is a Great Millstone Daily Bread 411. Ecclesiasticus 12 and 8. A friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity. Yeah, because in prosperity, everybody's a quote-unquote friend. All right, and you can't really tell who's really a friend and who's not. Some are just there because of what you got, but you won't really know a friend until you're in the time of adversity. Okay, that's when you're gonna know, well, who's really there. Okay, and as it says, an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity, because that's when you're going, those friends that were there during your prosperity, you find out if they were really friends or enemies during your adversity. Okay. Verse 9, it says, in the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved, but in the adversity, even a friend will depart. Come, and when that time comes, shit, you're going to have people, I'm telling you, man, you're going to have people that, certain people, you're going to think, all right, I'm in real need of help. Let me go to this person and maybe they'll help me. And they'll look at you and maybe close the door in your face or tell you, yo, bro, I'm sorry, man. I gotta put my family first. I'm sorry, I don't have enough. And meanwhile, you can see a whole stack of pile of food over there, but nope. So at that point, the dude just might say, I F it, fuck friendship. Give me that shit, I'm not asking no more. All right. So continuing. I'm gonna read this part again. It says, and the dearest friends fell a fighting one with another about it, snatching from each other the most miserable supports of life. So they would kill each other. It says, and whatever bits of food they got, they would take. It says, nor would men believe that those who were dying had no food, but the robbers would search them when they were expiring, right? Lest anyone should have concealed food in their bosoms, and counterfeited dying. It says, and counterfeited dying, nay, these robbers gaped for want and ran about stumbling and staggering along like mad dogs. So pretty much you would have certain people that would hide food on them. You know, you act like you dying and shit, and then, you know, your jacket got, you know, food in the corner and shit. You know, and also they would go around searching bodies to see if there was anything that somebody had hidden something, you know, they could find any food. And a lot of these robbers were those the some of the wicked zealots that kept provoking to the point where they burned the food. These dumbasses went and burned the food supply in there to provoke that um um seditious spirit in Jake. Okay, and they were murdering people. Here it is. There's a siege going on. Y'all murdering each other in you know, shit. And they said when the Romans finally came through, what they saw was horrors. They were like, what the like, yo, you know? So it says here, so they ran stumbling and staggering along like mad dogs. Now, you ever seen a dog that's just like not an excited dog, you know, but like I said, like a mad dog, you know, just running around all left, right, you know, they run, they stop, they turn, you know, looking for shit. It says, and reeling against the doors of the houses like drunken men. They would also, in the great distress they were in, rush into the very same houses 2 or 3 times in one and the same day. See, they check this house, they come back, they check this house. Did I check you already? You know, they checking the cabinets, they checking everywhere because hunger. It says, moreover, their hunger was so intolerable that it obliged them to chew everything, while they gathered such thing as the most sordid animals would touch not. Now, boom, let's look up the word sordid. I have an idea, but let's see. Sordid. It says dirty, filthy, muddy, messy, squalid, right? So icky. So pretty much that it got so bad. I'm gonna read this part again. It says, while they gathered such thing as the most sordid animals would touch not. So you have sordid animals, you have animals that pretty much eat like rats, you know, and like things, vulture, you know, they eat anything, right? So even there's certain things that are just so bad that even a rat won't touch it. But they got so desperate, but they even things like that, they took and they chewed, try to find whatever they could eat. You know, is it chewable? Like McDonald's. These rats, they don't eat McDonald's, man. You know, he see that shit? Nah, that ain't for me. You know, he's out of there. Squeak, squeak. Con, yep. Jacob about to be starving like stray dog. Hell yeah. And you know what? It's gonna be a very interesting sight to see. I pray the Lord has mercy on us, but it's gonna be very interesting to see because because guess what? That pride that Jake has within them now, the scriptures say that the Lord hates pride. But that pride that Jake has within them now, when you're starving to death, man, you're gonna look at the same people and you're gonna be shocked to know that that's the same person because of how humbled they're gonna be. It's gonna be hard to you're gonna look at somebody that you know. I know this person was proud. I know this person was a demon. But they're going to be in such a horrible state that it's going to be hard to even remember the demonic shit they were doing. You can be like, damn, he's been humbled so much that it's hard to remember that this dude was a demon. But that's why the judgment is going to come from the Heavenly Father, by Hashem Yahushai, not us, because the Lord isn't going to judge until until, oh, you're crying and you're humbled. And no. His judgment is set. You know, you might be judging somebody, but then it gets so bad, you might feel bad. Yeah, all right, that's enough. Lord is not doing that's enough. Yeah, right. It's enough when He says it's enough. Okay, that's why the scriptures say the righteous shall be quiet for fear of evil. Okay, so let's keep going. It says, while they gathered such thing as the most sordid animals would not touch, and endured to eat them. Oh Lord, you know, It says, nor did they at length abstain from girdles and shoes. And I remember Apostle Hart, he brought this out. You know, he was mentioning how during the siege you had Jake eating their belts and boots. Well, it's written right there. Okay. It says that at length they abstained, and it says, nor did they at length abstain from, meaning they didn't stay away from it. All right. Girdles, which are your belts. Okay. It says, and shoes. Hey, God, you know, yeah, you know, they might cut off somebody's hair while they sleeping and shit. I forgot what show it was. I think it was The Walking Dead, or it was some other show where an individual got, you know, things are desperate, right? He got captured, and he wakes up, and when he woke up, he saw, like, you know, a fire. He saw a fire going on, and then he saw, you know, people sitting around him, and they were eating. And he's like, oh shit, food. So he's all happy and shit, disoriented but happy. So they give him a piece. And he's like, yo, this is really good. Like, what is it? He's seeing the meat, you know, on the fire. Oh Lord. You know, he's like, yo, this is really good. What is it? And then one of the guy eating, if I recall correctly, he said something along the lines of look down. Because the dude had just woken up. So he sat up. So after he was done eating, he looked down and realized one of his legs was cut off. And then he put two and two together, and he was like, "Oh shit, yo shit, I'm the one they're eating. You know, I'm the food, right?" So it's crazy, man. It's crazy, but these are the kind of horrors the Lord is gonna bring. Unspeakable things, things that you wouldn't believe if somebody even made a movie about it. You know, somebody try to tell you, yo, this is what I just saw. You wouldn't even believe it. Okay, that man, shit, Most High, because when you think of terrors, that's why he's called the King of Terrors. The concept of terror came from the Lord. It comes from the Lord. Ain't nobody can be more horrific than the Lord. Nobody can be scarier than the Lord, because the concept of scary came from the Lord. So he's gonna show the earth what it means to be afraid. You know, you want to know the essence and the epitome. That's from The Walking Dead. Okay, I think, yep. All right, so I'm not tripping then. You want to know the epitome of fear? You want to know what destruction truly is? That's what Jacob's trouble is going to be. Okay? Jacob's trouble is gonna show you that it's gonna give you a newfound definition of fear and destruction. All right? And man, I'm telling you, man, in that time, when you think back, because of how bad it's gonna be, you're gonna be grateful for every second, every minute, every ounce of time you spent serving the Lord, because you're gonna hope and pray that, Lord, I really pray the work I did, you know, that you Lord, I need you to look on that work and please have mercy, because of how bad it's gonna be. That's why even Ezra, as it says in Second Ezra, was afraid. He was afraid. He was like, Lord, damn, like, you know, what am I gonna do? Because he's seeing all this joy. He's like, yo, this is like a suicide mission. There ain't no survival. Everybody just dying left and right, chaos everywhere. Like, you can't even get nowhere to lift your head up. You know? So let's keep going. It says here, so they were eating their shoes. It says, nor did at length abstain from girdles and shoes, and the very leather which belonged to their shields they pulled off and gnawed. I mean, how hungry you gotta be? Yo. It says, the very wisps of old hay became food for some. So that some of them were eating hay. It says, and some gathered up fibers and sold a very small weight of them for 4 attic drachmi. So they were selling fibers. You know, they were eating hay. They were eating belts. They were eating leather. Okay. It says, but why do It says, but why do I describe the shamelessness or the shameless impudence that the famine brought on men in their eating inanimate things? While I am going to salate a matter of fact, the like to which no history relates, either among the Greeks or barbarians. Um, okay, let me come down. There we go. The second paragraph here. It says, there was a certain woman that dwelt beyond Jordan. Her name was Mary. Her father was Eleazar. It says, of the village of Bethazab, which signifies the house of Hyssop. She was eminent for her family and her wealth, and had fled away to Jerusalem with the rest of the multitude, and was with them besieged therein at this time. Yeah, because when the Romans were coming, they came more from north, coming south through Galilee, and then Samaria, and then Jerusalem. So you had people that were up north that when the siege was coming, they fled like swaths, multitudes. They fled on down. Everybody was fleeing on down to hurry up and come into Jerusalem so that they wouldn't get caught in the siege. Okay. Slack here. Give me 1 second. So they wouldn't get caught in that siege. And so, as we're reading of, she happened to be one of them, one of those people. All right. So it says here, it says the other effects of this woman had been already seized upon. Such I mean as she had brought with her out of Perah and removed to the city. So when they fled, okay, they fled. They came with victuals, and they packed whatever they could pack, and they fled. So at this point, right here, at this point, she's everything she done came with, they already took. All right, they already seized on it. It says here. It says, what she had treasured up beside, as also what food she had contrived to save, had been also carried off by the rapacious guards, who came every day running into her house for that purpose. So whatever food she had, you had these guards that would come in there every day and they would take it. It says, this put the woman into a very great passion, and by the frequent reproaches and imprecations she cast at these rapacious villains, she had provoked them to anger against her, because she was talking shit, as they were taking her stuff. I mean, she was mad. It says, but none of them, either out of the indignation she had raised against herself, or out of the commiseration of her case, would take away her life. So they didn't kill her, right? It would have been an easy thing for them to do it, right? Who you talking to like that? But they didn't do it. It says, and if she found any food, she perceived her labors were for others and not for herself. And it was now become impossible for her any way to find any more food, while the famine pierced through her very bowels and marrow. So there ain't no food left to find. She's hungry as shit. Her bowels and marrow. I mean, damn. It says, when also her passion was fired to a degree beyond the famine itself, nor did she consult with anything but with her passion. So her flesh, right, it got to the point where she wasn't reasoning anymore, right? It says, and with the necessity that she was in, she then, check this out, she then attempted a most unnatural thing, and snatching up her son, who was a child sucking at her breast, she said, O thou miserable infant, for whom shall I preserve thee in this war, this famine, and this sedition? As to the war with the Romans, if they preserve our lives, we must be slaves. It says, this famine also will destroy us even before that slavery comes upon us. So she already knew, look, I got a baby, but how are we going to do this? Because once these Romans come in here, we're going to be slaves. They're going to take us. I don't know what they're going to do with you, You ain't. It's not gonna work out. But shit, she's like, I'm talking about the Romans coming in, but this famine is so bad, we might just the famine might kill us before the slavery comes, before the Romans even get here. So now remember, she's so hungry that this is the reasoning going on in her mind. This is gonna lead to the justification of what she about to do. All right? Because imagine you're hungry, right? But you got a child. You're like, well, the child ain't even gonna survive anyway. What if all right, so if we find food and the Romans come in here, they're gonna separate us, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do anyway, you know? So I mean, like what you know, what are we gonna do then? And even if they even if the Romans don't get here, the famine is gonna get us. So I gotta do something, right? Then your brain starts to justify, yeah, whatever you gotta do, just eat. I need the food. Yeah, like that woman, yep. It says, so I'm gonna read this again. It says, this famine also will destroy us, even before that slavery comes upon us. Yet are these seditious rogues, and that's dealing with those zealots, the Sicarii involved, all right, amongst others. So it says these seditious, okay, these seditious rogues more terrible than both the other. Oh my Lord. So she said, look, these rogues are worse than the famine and the Romans and the slavery. It says, come on. Now check this out. Come on, be thou my food. Oh shit. Here it is. You talking to your little baby infant that's sucking your breast. You telling him, look, you justifying why you got to eat him. That's pretty much what was going on in her mind. It said that her passion was so much that that's the only thing that she reasoned with, how she was feeling. And so it says, come on, be thou my food, and be thou a fury to these seditious varlets, and a byword to the world, which is all that is now wanting to complete the calamities of us Jews. As soon as she had said this, she slew her son. So remember, like I was saying, if you're gonna eat your child, you first gotta kill him. So she killed her own son. It says she slew her son and then roasted him. Oh my gosh. Now, you're roasting human flesh. Human flesh has a different scent. But none of this is fazing her because she's hungry. It says, as soon as she had said this, she slew her son and roasted him and ate the one half of him and kept the other half by her concealed. Oh, Lord. Upon this, the seditious, because she knew that those people would come in. It says, upon this, the seditious came in presently, smelling the horrid scent of this food. Now, let's type in here, horrid. The word horrid says very unpleasant or disagreeable, nasty. Yeah, because human flesh, like us, this ain't like, damn, it smell like fried chicken. No, okay. So they smelling that shit. They came in there. It says they threatened her that she would, that they would cut her throat immediately. Right. That's why they were called cutthroats, because that's what they did. They had, hey, read about the history of them. So it says that they would cut her throat immediately if she did not show them what food she had gotten ready. She replied that she had saved a very fine portion of it for them. Yo, this woman, man. It says, and withal uncovered what was left of her son. Hereupon they were seized with a horror and amazement of mind, and stood astonished at the sight, when she said to them, this is my own son, and what hath been done was my own doing. Come eat of this food, for I have eaten of it myself. Do not you pretend to be either more tender than a woman. Do not you pretend to be either more tender than a woman or more compassionate than a mother. But if you be so scrupulous, and to do abominate this my sacrifice, as I have eaten the one half, let the rest be preserved for me also. So she pretty much saying, look, I killed my own son and I ate him. I ate half of him. So come join me and let's eat the other half. But if you ain't trying to do that, then I'm gonna eat the other half myself. So you know she clearly wasn't in her right mind. So even these cutthroat, vicious Sicarii, who, this vicious rogues, dagger men, because really that's what it means. They pull up over there and they see the shit. And they're like, you know, they what the you know, and they looking at her now. She you just gotta visualize. She had to be looking like she was somewhere else, man. You know, probably having those laughs. You know, them sick. You know, somebody's not in their right mind and they're having them. You know that kind of thing. You know, she telling them and shit. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, and there's the other half right there. And you know, you guys could join me. You know, I'm a mother and all, but shit, you know, I gotta eat, right? You know, going crazy and shit. And they looking at like, oh, like yo, in horror because you smell this shit. And you come and you like, yo, she just killed her own son. You can see half the body. And she's telling you, yeah, I did it. I killed him. That's my son. I killed him. I ate him. There's another half. Yeah, crazy. Yeah. So it says, keep going. It says, now I'm almost done. It says, after which those men went out trembling. Trembling. These people came in there threatening to cut her throat and shit. And they went, because they were all messed up. Imagine seeing a sight like that. It says, being never so much affrighted, meaning afraid, at anything as they were at this. And with some difficulty, they left the rest of that meat to the mother. It says, so some of them contemplated it. I mean, it's still food, hey, but hey, that's you know, they all messed up and they were so shook. It says they had never felt, they were never more afraid than at this situation. It says, upon which the whole city was full of horrid action immediately. And while everybody laid this miserable case before their own eyes, they trembled, as if this unheard of action had been done by themselves. So those that were thus distressed by the famine were very desirous to die. And those already dead were esteemed happy, because they had not lived long enough either to hear or to see such miseries. All right. And that's an account right there. That's an example of the severity of famine. So when you read Matthew 24 and Luke 21 and Mark 13, and you hear of famines, the Lord said there's gonna be famines and people are gonna die. You gotta visualize these things. Okay? That things like what I just read and much worse are gonna be happening in our very lifetime. Now you see how those people, those rogues, when they came in there, they were afraid. They were shook up because of witnessing a sight like that. So how much more for people in this time when the Lord brings these things? To even witness a sight like this is going to be terrifying. How much more to be a partaker of these things? Whether you're getting eaten or you're eating somebody else. This is why you have to fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right? This is why you got to fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay? And for all you doing wickedness, proud, and all this extra displeasing the Lord, you better lay this to heart. Okay? Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying unto the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.